Hello everyone, my name is Shani Jones and this is KNKY, which stands for Know the New Kinky You. I am your resident certified sex coach and we are here to continue our 4-part series on the transitions of sex as we evolve through life. So video number 1, if you haven't had a chance to watch it, was a Instagram live repost on some of the messages that we receive as young people and how they influence us as adults, or how they influence our sexual selves as adults. And our second video was really about us as single people and finding ourselves and what does it mean as we grow into our sexual beings as emerging adults, and even adults at various stages of our lives, perhaps that we were, ending a long-term relationship, or perhaps, socially awkward. So check out that video too. So in part 3, we're talking about sex and dating and what it means. So I would like for you to take a second. What happens when you are about to go on a date? Now, this is just a piece of personal advice from me. This, as a person that is very wary of people sometimes, you can't put yourself out there 100%. But you need to actually be safe when you are meeting somebody and going out with them for the first time. So, ladies and gentlemen, when you first meet somebody, perhaps you're kind of old school and you want them to pick you up at home and then take you out. Okay. I personally believe it's probably a better situation to meet in a neutral spot and see how the evening goes. I also don't recommend doing an initial first or even second date at your home. No Netflix and chill. If that person has an interest in you, go out with them. And it doesn't mean going out for the purposes of spending money. It means going out so that you can see somebody in a social environment and you're not exposing yourself to them in your personal space. So make sure that you've established a rapport and you just get to know each other a little bit before you start to invite a new person into your personal space. Now, when you first start dating someone, how you initially treat them and treat your encounters will heavily influence your future interactions with them. So whether you're traditional and do the pickup thing or you meet, just try to keep an open mind, because you never know where that spark will come from. There are a lot of times that when you meet somebody, you may have an impulse to be intimate quickly. And again, nothing wrong with it as long as you're smart. When you're with this person, you don't want to establish any early precedents that you don't think that you can maintain throughout the potential course of the relationship. So when I get into this part of the conversation, the movie Think Like a Man jumps into my head, right? I'm not sure if you've seen it, and I know I reference movies and things like that a lot, but if you haven't, please go out and look at it. Think Like a Man is basically telling you how to establish early precedents in your relationship. Now, this particular movie is based on a book by Steve Harvey, who is a comedian, and it's intended to give women insights into securing a relationship with a man from a male's perspective. The thing that I think about is, because we're talking about sex, is that Steve argues that there should be an established 90-day rule before women give up their cookie. Now, the reason why this is suggested is because, from his perspective, and apparently from most other men in the world, because he represents the unified thought of men, is that men have a very short attention span, and that there is ample opportunity to have sex with multiple other people. If you decide to have sex with somebody, you should know going in that perhaps there's a chance that after the deed is done, that there may not be the long-term relationship dialogue, interactions that you might be expecting. And the 90-day rule suggests that if you hold out and you give somebody an opportunity to get to know you and who you are as a person, then they will value you much more than they would if you had sex with them right away. I will say that, based off of the conversations that I've had and the things that I've seen over the course of the years, is that it really just depends on you and the chemistry that you build with that person. You can meet somebody, have sex with them that same night, and you all could be married for the rest of your life. You can meet somebody and wait 3 months, 6 months, a year to have sex with them, and once you do, the conquest is over and it's done. It's all about the hunt. So you have to really just try to get to know the person that you're trying to be intimate with. You have to understand what their primary motivations are. Is it to have sex with you, or is it to get to know you? And you don't know that until you actually try to have a conversation. You know, you have to understand where that interest lies. Now, if you're all about getting yours and you just don't care, then being in the moment is okay. However, if sex is not your primary motivation, you need to wait and see what the potential outcomes could be if you decide to act earlier than you're potentially ready. I'm not necessarily a fan of putting a defined number on the number of days that you should wait before you have sex with a person, primarily because when you're dating somebody, when you first meet them, you are the majority of the time meeting their representative. So this person is always going to come out on their best behavior. They're going to say the things that they're supposed to say. They're going to do the things that they're supposed to do. And again, not 100%. I personally think that I was going to say I don't have a representative, but I perhaps do. But the representative is the version of me that I want to be in a relationship. And I find that if that version of me changes, it's because the dynamics of the relationship have changed. So you just have to be discerning when it comes to how it is you decide who you're going to be with and how you're going to interact with them on an intimate and social level. If you are dealing with people, you know, that first 6 months especially is going to be that best behavior representative time frame. So the longer that you are with a person, the more they reveal themselves and about what it is that they like. They put their true colors on display. So it's best to make sure that if you want to sleep with this person, you understand the situation that you're getting into. Now, dating is an evolutionary process where we, by nature, filter out the best candidates. so that we can identify who we want to potentially live the rest of our lives with. It's basically job interviews. And when you meet somebody and you decide that one date should turn into two, two should turn into three, and three should turn into many, you will now find yourself in a relationship. And sex during this initial period is very new. You know, it's full of curiosity and exploration. You're getting to know each other and what they like and what they don't like. And learning is a great thing. You're supposed to embrace the opportunities of exploring and getting to know those buttons to push to move things to the next level. That's part of the process. I think the thing that we forget the most is that every day we change as people. We're constantly evolving based on our daily interactions and experiences. And what makes dating experience good or bad, what dictates if the relationship will ignite or burn itself out in months or for years or till death do us part, is the things that we have in common and the things that are different about us, but how they complement each other. So when it comes to sex, it's a bit of both. We hope we meet somebody that is in tune with us and, you know, can read what we want and give it to us. A lot of times we want to be exposed to something new and exciting. You know, a lot of times people look for teachers in sexual situations, sexual relationships. With a caveat, there are some very old school thinkers, and I have one friend in mind in particular whose frame of thought is that if a woman is really, really good in bed, then she's overly experienced and she must be a hoe. Again, old school thought. If you agree with it, please leave a comment below. If you don't agree with it, please leave a comment below. I would like to know your thoughts on the matter. So, statistics say that the first 2 years of a relationship are definitely the most heated. It's the honeymoon phase where you are perhaps still unlocking the unknown and you're trying to understand this new relationship and its own new set of issues. You're creating a space that where you were once a unique individual, you are now becoming an entity of consideration and compromise as a couple. And consideration and compromise is not unique to, you know, just who does the laundry, who picks up this, or, you know, very surface or superficial things. Compromise, we're talking about sex. It's, you know, somebody likes something that you're not kind of used to. How willing are you to engage in that activity because it makes your partner happy, even if you haven't tried it before? So these are these discovery moments. It's very important early on, not too early, but early on, to lay it out for them, especially if you have sexual interests that are so important to you that it's not something that you think that you could live without in a long-term relationship. That's definitely something that you should expose your partner to so that you guys can begin to have the conversations and know next steps. If there's all an expectation that a person you're going to be with is going to be fully sexually satisfied and receive that gratification, you're going to have to be honest. Now, I will go on the record because this is a lesson learned that honesty is the best policy, but certain things don't necessarily belong, in my opinion, in dating conversation. For instance, when you start talking about previous relationships, that is a very slippery slope. On one hand, if you're like me and you feel like I have nothing to hide, I have no shame about my past, this is who I am and deal with it if you don't like it, Perhaps you'll want to be honest about the things that you may have experienced or the people you may have experienced with, but I advised against it, and here's why. Everyone has a past. Things that they've done, people that they've done, places where they have experienced them. We are all influenced by our past. Everything that we've done up until this point has helped to make us who we are. And if we happen to meet somebody where we expressed an interest in them and they expressed an interest in us, then they should just be content with who we are as people right now. I would never suggest you ask your partner how many people they've been with. As long as you know that they are healthy and won't expose you to anything negative, then that should be enough. I would never ask for a lot of details about past sexual experiences because sometimes the information can be held against you, and you don't want to have your own experiences used against you as a weapon. Now, I'm not encouraging you to lie, but at the same time, not all information is for everybody, and you have to gauge this based on your interactions and your relationship with that person and how safe you feel. And ideally, you're going to be in a relationship with somebody where this information can be shared freely. So just keep that information in mind as you are going through this whole dating experience. So, sex early in a relationship isn't necessarily a precursor for how it will be later. Again, we're looking at this honeymoon phase where people get to know each other over time, and you start to develop a comfort level and perhaps a routine. If you haven't experienced it yet, you may hear whispers of things being not like they used to be, especially in the beginning as relationships progress. It doesn't mean that you can't get those things back if you want to. It means that you just have to be diligent about maintaining the same initial levels of effort that you had very early on in the relationship. You have to put in the work. You have to ensure that that drive you had in the beginning is the same drive you maintain throughout. People decide to stay in relationships for a lot of different reasons, and maybe you have children together, or there might be a financial dependency, or you just don't want to be alone. When sex starts to change, especially for the worst in a relationship, it's an indicator that things might not be that great in your relationship. You want to stay close to the person that loves you and that you love. You want to make sure that passion and the reverence you have for each other stays strong, because if it doesn't, it can be the beginning of the end of your dating experience. So I would love to get comments from you about your experiences and how you've approached dating and being with someone new and trying to perhaps move from dating to that firm relationship. You can follow me across all social media at DOYOUKNKY. Please look out for our new video coming up. I appreciate everyone who has already subscribed to the channel. If you haven't already, it only takes a click to do so. You'll be first in line, and remember to turn on your notifications. You'll be first in line for all of the new content. I do a live on Wednesdays on Instagram, but you can always see the repost here on YouTube. I appreciate you and all you do. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Shani Jones.